Hello, and welcome to this episode.
Welcome.
Somebody needs a haircut.
Yeah, I know. It's been 6 years.
I need to get that done.
Oh, you?
Yeah. I have an accessory for that.
I am not going to.
No, I cut my own hair.
Oh, your own hair?
Yeah.
Okay, I
I
thought
have an
you were
accessory.
volunteering.
No,
my
you're not
haircut.
an accessory.
No, cutting my hair.
Oh, I see. We thought it'd be a really good idea to just sit down and talk about some of the accessories that we have picked up. Some of these we knew about before we got on the trip, but there's a lot of these that we have picked up in the last year as we've been on the road. Things that we just realize, wow, would that ever be handy to have? Fill in the blank.
And also, I am so glad we have this with us.
Yeah. So we thought this would be just a good run. This isn't, of course, everything that we have. And I do want to mention, before we start showing you this list, this isn't any particular order. But yes, all of this stuff, we have found a place for it. It all fits, and we still have room for more stuff if we need it down the road.
Yeah, we have to weed out some stuff that we haven't used. Like, we have not used. There's 4 pairs of shoes in a storage area that have never been touched except for me to move them a bit. And yeah, food seems to be the biggest one, not crushing stuff.
Yeah. So it's working out. So anyway, this is a list of accessories that we think are very important to have on your RV journey. We'd also encourage, before we get into the list, that if you have things that we've missed or that you find particularly useful, please make sure that you put them in the comments, like and subscribe. And here's our list of accessories.
We went on the road with regular sheets and a comforter and some blankets. Now, the blankets, I thought, were just afterthought, but me anyways, I use all the time. This one, I think, is made out of like plastic or something, and recycling. And it turns out to be one of my favorite. When I first got it, it was very stiff, as you can imagine. And after a few washings and dog living, it is so comfortable. It's so warm. And last night it got down to -1. Okay, these two covered the entire bed. This covers Steve's feet, which by, a couple hours into him sleeping is on the floor. And these covered the entire bed. This one I put over myself. I slept so well. Don't underestimate good blankets. And we also have our electric blanket with us. Sleeping comfortably, being warm during the day when it's cool out is very important.
We have 2 fire extinguishers. We think this is a very important accessory. We've never had to use them, but better safe than sorry. This larger one sits just inside the door of the rig. As soon as you open the door, it is right around the corner on the left-hand side. And this one sits underneath the back seat of the truck. You open the truck door and it is immediately accessible. And we find that having both of them is just that little added peace of mind. In 3, 2.
Another accessory we have is our soda stream.
Why do we have a soda stream, Elizabeth? Why would we be hauling that all over the country?
North America.
Yeah.
We like our fizzy drinks. Fizzy water, fizzy flavored water. Put some
Lemon juice and lime juice?
Yes, that's
yeah,
flavored.
Yeah.
And also pop flavors.
Yeah.
And so far, we haven't had too much trouble finding the canisters.
I got this little bag at a conference. It's a very nice little equipment bag, tool bag, and I use this exclusively for anything that has to do with electronics or electrical systems. And everything that I'm going to show you and then some actually fits comfortably inside this bag. So for example, a little kit that has various connectors for wires. I've got all of my solar panel extension cables, which includes these that I'm not using them right now because where we have the solar panel set up, I don't need these, but I do have some other extension cables, which I can show you. So for example, I've got 3 solar panels coming into a connector that goes into the solar input, and these cables, which are normally covered, these I don't like leaving them out uncovered, but they come back and connect up to the solar panels. Hello, Morrie. So the solar panels connect here and then into an adapter that goes into the extension cables, and all 3 of them are now funneled back there. And so I have additional cables that will give me an extra 8 feet, and that would be these guys. Once they're unfolded, unrolled, I can attach those on and get some extra. I also have one of these devices that allows me to charge up pretty well any type of power station. It has all the different types of ends, so if somebody else is in a problem and needs to get a charge off some solar panels and doesn't have the proper cables, I at least have the ability to give them a hand. This is my multimeter, and it stays in this kit all the time, actually on the other side, deeper pocket, and then its connectors are in here as well. We have a couple of these devices that allow me to hook directly onto the battery, and then I can get the 12-volt system coming out of that. And then to that end, I also have one extension cable. So this allows me to run, for example, we have 2 tire pumps that we want to be able to get down to the end of the trailer. So we can attach these directly to the battery, run an extension cable down, hook the tire pump into the other end of this, and be able to run a tire pump either anywhere on the truck or anywhere on the trailer, which is very handy. We have 2 different dog bones, and surprisingly enough, we have used them both. Our trailer is a 30 amp system, so we have a 50 to 30 amp converter, and we have a 110 to 30 amp converter. It doesn't actually give us 30 amps if it's hooked into 110, gives us 15. We're not running, for example, the air conditioning when we are hooked into this, because this is just basically coming off of house power. We also have in this little tool kit, this extra little kit, these are where I would have my 3 different ways of charging up the power station. So this is the one that goes in the truck. It hooks into the cigarette lighter adapter and then directly into the power station. I have one here that allows me to plug into a 110, which also includes now the generator. So if I was at home or if I'm at an RV park that has power, I'm charging up the power station using this. And the third one is actually this adapter, and that fits in there, and it's just a short adapter that goes into the back of the power station here, and I can plug up to 5 solar panels into this, up to a maximum of 1,000 watts input. So all of that material fits nice and comfortably in this little bag. This bag, once it's filled up, sits in the back of the truck with the power station for travel days.
With the clothes horse, when I was looking for things to bring, I saw all these different types of things that you could use for clothes hanging. We own this, so it came with us. If it breaks, might get one of those cute ones or nifty ones that hang off of the ladder. But right now, this is what we have. And the clothespins, the dowels, plastic coated metal. And the dowels are small enough that the clothespins go around. And like most clothes horses, it stands. And I was so glad We brought it because so many things that are big, you could use to drape over it. Another very small accessory, clothespins. I just tossed our bag of clothespins in because, well, you know, you want to hang things up. I brought the clothes horse. And generally with the clothes horse, I don't need to pin, but with a wind, you clothespin. These also come in handy as clamps. You never know when you need a good clothespin.
Well, our next set of accessories has to do with getting up onto things. So didn't expect that I was ever going to need one of these, but boy, I'm sure glad that I picked it up. This is an extendable ladder. This one goes up to 12.5 feet. So allows me to get up on to the top of the rig much easier, and it works very well. We've got this little tiny step ladder, just a 2-step one. This has become very handy for getting things out of high cupboards for Libby, and believe it or not, for me to get into the back of the truck. And this one is a set of collapsible stairs. We actually bought this for Morrie. The whole idea behind this is that about 6 months ago, we noticed that every so often he would hesitate before jumping into the back of the truck. And I was also feeling that him jumping out of the back of the truck was starting to put a lot of pressure on his joints, shoulders, and things like that. So we picked up these dog stairs, which allow him to get into the truck very easily. It has also added as an additional bonus that should the steps on our rig ever go sideways, these things will hold over 300 pounds and would allow us to be able to get into the rig. Using the vertical ladder on the back of the rig, I find very difficult to get up, especially if I am trying to carry something up, like, for example, our Starlink system. The step ladder I was often putting down here on the ground and using that even just to get up to the first step. Breaking down and getting a collapsible ladder that allows me to get all the way up to the top of the rig. And it is set at an angle, which means it's a lot easier to climb. And if I'm carrying something up, it just makes it super easy. We got the version that has the 2 little hooks on the top. Normally this would be set at the back of the rig, but I've just got it for demonstration purposes here on the side. But it's very nice to be able to get up and down easier with this, and it just collapses down, as you saw in a little tiny package. I can't even tell you how many times that I've had this set up that I've had other campers that have come by and said, "Oh my gosh, where did you get that? Look, Fred, we need one of those." And it's just one of those accessories that you don't think you're going to need, and then when you finally get one, you wonder how you went so long without it. This would normally be set to the passenger door of the truck, and I apologize how dusty these are. Haven't washed them off for a while. This is still sand and grit and dirt from our time down in Arizona. Maybe that's why we haven't washed it off. It's the last little bit of desert that we brought with us. But this is going up into the rig. Morrie, here, why don't you show the stairs? Yep, you want to show up your stairs? That's a good boy. Oh, you go up. There. Good. That's how easy it is. You want to come back down? Here, fella, come on down. Boom, just like that. So these work out really well. And like I said, a lot easier for Morrie to get in and out of things. Here, bud, here's your treat. There you go. Oh, what a good boy. I don't know if there was an option for me to buy the little foldable step that I see a lot of pickups have. With this truck, I don't know if that was even an option. I know that I didn't get it if it was an option. However, I've also discovered, again, at my age, that sometimes it's a little bit trickier getting up into the back of the truck than I would like. So this little step ladder has been extremely convenient for me to get in and out, because we have a big toolkit in the back, and that stores things like Morrie's dog food. I've got my little containers of gas that are in there. I have our wood pellets for our pellet stove. There's some other tools and things that are in there, blocks of wood, stuff like that. So to get in and out of that, we also have things like our life jackets that we use for our paddleboard. I think my winter coat is in there, which I don't think I have used yet on this trip. So things like this that are just staying in the back of the truck, I want to be able to get into it easily, and getting out of the back of the truck, I've needed that ladder. I should also mention that this ladder, this step ladder, along with the collapsible ladder and Morrie steps actually just live in the back of the truck. So they get a little bit weathered, but so far so good. Prior to getting this accessory, we were just using big blocks of wood. I've actually found that I really prefer having our stack pads instead of blocks of wood. I just feel they're a little bit more stable. They're not going to crack. They're not going to break. They also come, each one of them comes with this little topper. So we have 4 extras because we have the stack pads 3 high. So the one on the top uses it, the other 2 below don't. So we have these as extras. I find that if I'm going to be at a campground that has a wooden table, like we have here, I don't want to put my Traeger directly on top of the wood. In fact, a lot of campgrounds actually advise that you don't. So I use the 4 extra pad toppers for the stack pads as a base for the Traeger. It works really well. The other thing they come in really handy for is kneeling pads. I don't use them much for that, a couple of times, but we have 2 dedicated kneeling pads that we carry around with us. This one stays in the underside of the rig in the pass-through storage, and this one stays in the kitchen. Surprisingly enough, having to get down on your knees in order to light our oven, for example. For me, when I'm outside and checking the tire pressure or pumping up tires or anything that requires me to be on the ground, this one was actually in my greenhouse back at home. And when we came on this trip, decided that that was going to come in very handy. And we also then have these. So having kneeling pads, surprisingly handy accessory to have.
So another accessory, portable lanterns. Now you can get battery operated ones, but we chose rechargeable ones. Right now our power station is fully charged, so this is the prime time to do any charging up. My laptop, our phones, and these lanterns. Each of them have a handle so they can hang. It's actually more useful than the 2 lights that came with the rig.
The other thing that is worth mentioning is that all of these have a USB out. So if you needed to use this to charge up a phone, something along those lines, you can use them as an external charger. They don't have a huge amount of power, but if you're in an emergency and you needed just to get a little bit of power into a phone, I doubt we would ever use that with all the other stuff we have, but you never know.
Yeah. Okay, so we have 2 foldable tables, and in this spot, this is where the folding solar panels go, and then we have this table, which I used for crafts and sewing and other bits and bobs. Steve bought this one for inside for him to use with his computer setup. He's using it mostly for the Traeger now. And our 3rd portable table is a lap table. I use this one for my laptop. Laptop is here. I guess if you have a mouse there, but nice place to put, you know, pens and snacks.
This is designed for your iPhone and your iPad.
Oh, good for pens and pencils and snacks. Okay, and the phone.
Not an absolute need to have, but we both really like having a weather station. This is not permanently mounted on the rig. It just comes off of that for travel days, and it's just on a plank that is attached to the ladder so that we can have a place that's tall enough up that I can walk underneath it without hitting it. And it allows us to know what the temperature, wind speed, amount of rain that we've got, all comes up on a monitor inside the rig. So the moment that we're recording this, it is currently 16 degrees Celsius on the outside of the trailer. Inside the trailer, 18 degrees Celsius. There is a little bit of rain in the forecast. We've had 0 wind, and we've had no precipitation in the last day. And it gives you a running ticker of what's been going on, your highs, your lows, that kind of stuff. It went down to -1 last night. Very pleasant day right now. So it's a nice to have. It's not an absolute need to have, but as an accessory, we're glad we have. safety cones, safety triangles. These I also find very handy. These 3 fold up and fit in a little package that sits in the tool chest in the back of the truck. And these 2 cones basically live in the back of the truck. And I find that even something as simple as having one on the ground underneath the hitch is just a little bit of a warning that there's something there. And to that end, we also have some flags that I put on the front. Well, I've got one on the front of the rig, and I've got another one that's a spare that sometimes I hang off the back for our weather station if the weather station is set a little bit lower, just to be able to warn me, because I like to bash into things, that it's there. Some type of surge protector. There's quite a few models and different manufacturers that have these. I picked the one up from Southwire. It's a company that I've known for quite some time, and I've always trusted what they're doing. I will say the only negative about this one is it says that it is Bluetooth enabled. The Bluetooth has never worked on this particular unit, but really the only benefit of that would be to be able to monitor things from inside the trailer. For me, as long as this light is on, I know that the surge is being protected. This is the 30 amp version. They also have a 50 amp version. Because our trailer is 30 amps, that is the one that I go with. And if I am using 50 amp to 30 amp converter, like the dog bone that I showed, then this gets plugged into the 30 amp side. The 50 amp would of course be into the shore power. But this works extremely well. We have been in 3 campgrounds now in the last year where this thing has gone off, and it's actually shut the power down, so it was some kind of brownout or some kind of power spike. But anyway, I know that it's doing its job, and I'm very thankful to have a good surge protector. Well, this is a set that I wasn't aware that I was ever going to need. Again, once we got it, wondered how we did so long without it. This is some carabiners. These are tent pegs, but they are a screw-in type. The kit that we got also comes with a 13mm adapter to go into a drill. And it's pretty nice to be able to just, I bring the power station over, hook my drill into this, and be able to install these very quickly. It comes with also a little handle lever for pulling these things out. And also picked up a baggie of little tie-down straps. And amazing how handy these are. Since getting this kit, in an earlier video, I was talking about our solar panels and how they were constantly blowing over in the wind. Since picking up this kit, that is over with. We no longer have a problem with our solar panels blowing over. I can use the tie-down straps to attach to the top of the solar panel and then tie them down, and then using the holes that are already built in, the grommets that are already built into the solar panel, allows me to just attach these right to the ground, and then using the top ones I can bring the string down and be able to attach them to the ground. On the larger solar panel, they hook directly into here. I just screw them in and attach this to the peg, and then the same thing on the top. If I need to tie that down, I attach one of the tie down straps to this down to another peg. It's not windy where we are, so I don't have anything tied down. But where we are, I have one solar panel that just by where the sun was, I actually set it up on the picnic table bench, and then just to make sure that it doesn't slide down, again using one of those little straps, and it's just attached to the table so that it doesn't slide down. So again, it's one of those things, you don't think you're going to need it, then once you get it, you wonder how you lasted so long without it. Hoses, we actually have 3 hoses in the bottom of this bin. There's a black one that's 200 feet, this gray one is 50 feet, and then this one is 20 foot. These are all hoses that collapse down into a small little package. Like I said, 250 feet of hose, and I still have room left over inside this little blue tote. And this one stays with the black water supplies. This hose is only used for flushing the black water tank. The other two hoses are only used for our freshwater supplies. They don't even stay in the same bins because I don't want them contaminating one another. Although we've never had a problem. I've never had a spill, but you know, I do use this one to actually even flush out the hoses. So I just don't want to take the chances of having this and this in the same bin together. These are the accessories that we use for various things to do with our water supply. Just a hose tip that allows me to spray things down if I need it. This is a pressure regulator. I use this at every campsite. We've only been to a couple of them that it actually topped out at 40, which is what we've got it set at. This is a safe level for the rig. You don't want to be going above 40 psi. Most of the campgrounds we've been at, I don't actually need this. In fact, there's a lot of places I'm surprised that we even get 20 out of it. This little angle has been very handy to be able to hook things into the side of the trailer and then have things hooked into that so that you're not putting direct pressure on things. For example, if I'm putting the water filter on, not unusual for me to hook this in like this and then have the water filter hanging down below that, which seems to work out very well. This is a gallon measurement. It gives me the total amount that I've used, it gives me my average per minute, and it gives me my single amount in. So when I'm filling up our fresh water tank, for example, I know exactly how many gallons I'm putting into the fresh water tank. Always nice to have a little bit of plumber's tape. This device here is for the fresh water tank. Hose goes in this end. And again, if I'm going to be putting a filter on there, I can actually hook this up in such a way for example, the filter, how much water I'm actually putting in the rig. This is going to have the filter in between it, this little bracket, and then it's going to fit directly into the back of the rig. I find all of those to be extremely handy. I've actually got, I think, three or four of these just in case I ever lose one. I've got 2 of these just in case I ever lose one. This is a diverter valve. On this end is a black backflow preventer. So this side, I leave this on here to remind me that this is where my black water hose gets hooked up to. So this way I can hook this up to park water. This is going to be our drinking water. This side, when it comes out, is going to be our for our black water flush. But because this does not allow water to flow back into here, I don't have the risk of contamination. The only thing you have to watch for when you're using one of these is that these little vents, if there's back pressure, instead of going back into the hose, it's going to come out of these. I've had my pants soaked several times because I keep forgetting that there's going to be back pressure. This is a really cool little device. I'm really happy to have this. We've needed this at 3 different campgrounds. This is designed so that if you have a water hose, for example, a lot of the parks that don't have water at the sites might just have a place where you can go fill up a tank or whatever, but you can't screw the hose onto the tap. And so what this is designed to do is to go onto the tap, use a couple of clamps to make sure that it stays where it needs to be. Hose gets put on the other side and then it can go right off to the trailer. Also some extra little filters. Always have some extra washers, and depending on what I'm needing, for example, if I'm working with the black tank, I always want to make sure that I have some gloves on. I'll add to it, this is the water filter that we're using. A couple of different manufacturers. This one's a Belvita. There's also Camco that make these. I have to be really candid. I'm not a huge fan of these. I think they're okay, and in a pinch, they're fine. I think one of those things that we will probably save up for at a future time is an actual built-in water filter system for the rig. That's down the road a little bit, but for the time being, this gets us by. In terms of tools, I have this tool chest, which has been extremely handy. There's little drawers, little table drawers at the top. And then there's a pull-out drawer. This is where I've got all the stuff that I need right away. And then there's stuff in the bottom, bigger tools like my drill, rubber mallet, lap sealant, things of that nature. This kit, kind of an all-in-one. This gets used a tremendous amount, and somehow I managed to lose one of the pieces. It's at a campground somewhere between here and Arizona. I'm not sure exactly where. And then our torque wrench. And I have talked in the past about the fact that we do make sure that the nuts on, or the tire lugs on both the trailer and the truck are torqued on a regular basis. So I wanted to get a nice torque wrench that has the ability to dial in to the torque that you need. That's a pretty good list.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff. It was like putting a Tetris thing together to find a place for everything to fit.
Yes.
Like the solar panels go here, and then this table, and then this table, and then your clothes horse, and then the Traeger, and it's like everything has a little place where it fits.
And when we first started out, we had enough room that things kind of moved around. Yeah, so got rid of some stuff.
When we were first packing up this, I thought the things that we had put aside to go in the rig, that we weren't going to have enough room for it. We got everything in there and found out that we had this luxury of more than 50% of our available space was still available.
People might think, well, that's not an accessory, that's needed.
That's a lot of times where the accessories are. You find out, well, it would be nice to have, and then you realize I can't live without it.
Yeah, like blankets. Well, duh, but
I could live without blankets. I just need a nice warm shirt. Anyway, that is it for this episode. Thank you so much for joining us. Please, if you like our content, feel free to subscribe, give us a like, and we will see you
on the morrow.
next time.
Next time.